Exploring the stuff that matters in student experience and graduate outcomes. Advancing Learning and Teaching with Professor Shelley Kinash. This short podcast is the Q&A session from the presentation Creating and Sharing Your Distinctive Learning and Teaching Profile for Winning Career, Promotion and Award Applications.
I really like the fact when you were saying, well, who are you? So what do you think? You know, looking for harmony between what you think, what you say and what you do. And then what came to light then was, because I'm a nurse, I always think about the holistic picture, and I like to think about my environment. So then university is my environment. So is it a match? Do my values, are they a match to the university that I work in? So that's what came to me. And I think that's a question that we always have to keep happening because, you know, it's a reciprocal relationship between the staff that work and the university together. We should mirror one another.
Fantastic. Thanks, Tash. And I think that that's just so critical that A, that it's discipline specific, and B, that you're looking for that alignment. So there's a word dissonance that I've been thinking about a lot in terms of employability. And sometimes you find that there's dissonance between your value base or your ways of being and who you are and who you see that your context is at the moment. And so sometimes I think that as much as possible when we see that, we know that that's probably affecting our students as well. And that's one of our roles, and that's another reason why we need to know who we are, so that we can say, how do I change this? How can I contribute and have impact so that there's less dissonance? How can I make it a place that I have fun being at and I have joy and it feels cohesive? It feels right being here. What changes, what leadership can I put into place so that it feels that way for others as well?
Which goes for, you know, I really like that comment about being brave, to stand up for what it is that you believe in and you value, because that starts to define who you are, and that's where change starts, and you're part of a team. So that's just one more thing. I really liked everything you said. It was fabulous.
Thank you.
I can feel how passionate you are about your work and that identity, but I know you do have other roles, and I'm curious to know how you move across those roles, because when you've got a passion for your work, how do you fit in everything else around it? Because I'm assuming you've also got passion for your family and passion for lots of other things. So
yeah, thank you. That's the $1 million question, isn't it? And this is something that I personally, you know, being brave, this is something I struggle with all the time. I've changed my mind about work-life balance recently. So we were at a theme park, and there was this quiz that we were doing at the theme park, and it just said, one of the questions was, do you work to live, or do you live to work? And I said, you know what, I can't answer that question. And my husband was quite disgusted with me at first, before we had the conversation, because he said, what do you mean? You know, your family's the most important. You work to live. And I said, no, I don't. And then I started thinking that I do partially because, like you say, you know, my husband and my kids are just so core to my being and my passion. And but I don't think there's such a thing as a work-life balance that pits the two off against each other. Because if I don't feel joy in my work, if I don't feel passion in my work, it is my life. So saying work-life balance says that what you do with like 60, 75% of your day isn't your life. Well, I don't want to live like that. So I need to live in a place that comes back to what Tash said about that coherence and not having that dissonance between who you are and what you do and who you're with, that you believe together, that you're actually on a mission to make things better for your students and your graduates. So I try and think what I do, instead of saying, okay, I'm going to carve out more leisure time, I'm going to make sure that I don't get lost. So I go through, and I don't know how I'm ever going to solve this one, but I'm now 2,000 emails behind again. So what happens is I decide that, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to get lost in just doing emails constantly. because what good does that do? You know, how far do you go? So a lot of those 2,000, when I eventually find a way to get caught up again, can just be deleted because I've gone around and had the conversations with people that don't need the emails anymore. But you need to keep your eye on the ball, and I believe in a from the gut approach, where you say what matters and what makes a difference. And yeah, you have to do some of the stuff, the administrative stuff, but as long as at least part of your day, every day, is spent on doing something that matters and that's actually going to make a difference, rather than getting caught in the minutia and reacting all the time.
That's a beautiful segue. It was a similar question I had, Shelley, and you might predict this because you and I have had conversations before, but an example today is I walked through a hallway and I saw two beautiful art pieces hanging that have traveled internationally, and they were actually the work of one of our staff members in our EDD team. And I was thinking, wow, we are really multi-talented people, and when we have areas that sometimes don't harmonize as well with our academic and research kind of work. My story is music and production, Rod. You get this, where I'm going with this. Do you have ideas about how you can represent, the multiple dimensions of yourself, your academic writing, but also your performances and things like that, so it looks more cohesive? Because it's been a career-long challenge for some of us to blend those kind of aspects of ourselves.
Yeah, I think that the word harmony that you just used, Bill, is absolutely beautiful. Like, that's another beautiful image, to harmonize and pull it together rather than that bifurcation, to have that harmony. And so I look, again, I gave you the example, look to somebody whose profile you really respect and admire. So one of the people I put up there is James Arvanitakis, and I incredibly admire James. And so I watch him about how he finds harmony in what he does. So he presents on the ABC in the morning show, and what he does is he keeps up very much on issues that matter to him. So he knows who he is. So he quite often speaks, say, that's far different from, he's now Pro-Vice Chancellor and was most recently the Dean of Graduate Studies. I think he might be Dean of Graduate Studies and PVC research. But in any case, but he was born in a Greek family, and he tells some really funny stories about his mom sending him to the first day of undergraduate university with a container full of cooked lamb, so that he could, and so a pretty girl sat next to him and he offered her lamb. But so he goes on to ABC, and he talks about, like, he hates the language right now about immigration and how there's so much talk about immigrants as taking away from Australian society. And so he knows, because being Greek is important to him and being multicultural is important to him. So he brings in this synthesis. One more example from him: when he travels, if he can, he'll also be the convener, like, of an art gallery, like a gallery showing. So so he'll do a lecture and meet with some university officials in India or Indonesia or Japan, and then he'll do something around art. So we can interweave, we're in such an exciting time in our world where we can interweave these things and bring beauty about through harmony.
Wow, that is a great note to end on. Next time you look at your next grant award or your thing, look at the beauty and the harmony and the narrative and the focus, and let yourselves shine through and fill it with evidence and outcomes and achievements. That's what a panel really wants to see. So thank you so much again, Shelley, for being here. It's been great. Good luck.